Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Sandy. I'm so thrilled that you're here with me today at Last First Date Radio. We are an acclaimed show about achieving healthy, off-the-charts love, especially in the second half of life. This is a show for single people. It's a show for people who are coupled. There's something for everybody here, and I am excited to be speaking today with clinical psychologist Richard John Chern and his partner Jaimie Love Adams. And we're going to be talking about sexuality and disability in particular, but love in general. I am a dating coach for women over 40, and I love helping those women date as the high-value woman that they are in the rest of their lives, because I find that so many people, and this is not just a woman issue, but so many people give up their value in partnership, in a romantic partnership, but show up as incredible people in every other aspect of their lives. And I just got off the phone this morning with a client who was struggling with how to be upfront and honest with her friend about the guy she's currently dating. It's a sticky situation, and what I help women do is to really find out what's going on for you. What is your need, and are you worrying too much about pleasing other people while giving up your own value? This is something that's so common, and it's something that I love helping women to overcome, to be able to speak up, show up, and attract the love they deserve. I am having something really special going on in November that I'm inviting any woman over 40 who is single to. We are limited to 20 women, but it's a live retreat, and it's going to take place November 2nd through 4th in Stamford, Connecticut, at the Sheraton Hotel. And it's going to be a deep dive into valuing yourself, into understanding your own needs, wants, feelings, learning how to express them, learning how to understand men and how they're different from women. And we're even going to set up some mock date situations. We're going to create a vision board for love. We're going to do a lot of really cool things. And on the last day, I'm going to have my image stylist come and help the women style themselves so they look taller, thinner, younger, and dress to really express who they are at their core. So visit my website, lastfirstdate.com/woman-value-live-retreat. That's woman-value-live-retreat, and it's woman with an A, not women, plural, it's singular. So I hope to see some of you at the live retreat. And now I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Guests. We have Richard John Chern. He is a clinical psychologist and rehabilitation counselor with 20 years of experience in the field of disabilities. He's also a life coach and a facilitator for his clients who are struggling with issues. He has overcome his own obstacles related to his cerebral palsy, and he feels that it has assisted him and empowered him to help others with disability by changing attitudes about who we are as people. He also has a full life spending time in San Diego and New York with his wonderful partner, Jaimie Adams. They are domestic partners, and I can't wait to have you speak to them. So let's talk about sexuality and disability with Jaimie and Richard. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
How are you? Thank you.
Sandy. Yes, that was a great intro.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. I actually have a close friend with cerebral palsy, and one of the first things that she was dealing with when she was dating after her divorce was feeling like men were rejecting her because of her condition. And I kept saying to her, you need to love yourself first and not reject yourself for your condition. And once she stopped really thinking that people were criticizing or rejecting her because her arm is shaped a certain way, she walked a certain way. She ended up attracting the most amazing partner. They got married last summer, and they are, I have never seen her happier. He loves every part of her, and especially what's inside, which is so beautiful. So this is near and dear to my heart.
Well, I'm glad you didn't meet Richard before I did, because then I wouldn't have gotten him, because I had him now. He's mine.
But you're lucky to have him.
Yeah, that's right. I am. I was the one person that was so lucky to get him before anybody else did.
So tell us how you met.
I was his first. How did we meet, Richard?
Oh, that's the story, isn't it, Jaimie?
It's crazy. It's a crazy story. Go ahead.
Go first, and then I'll feed in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I had a new job working with the Shriners as a bartender, and it's really crazy how I got this gig. But I've never been a bartender before, but a friend of mine just popped out of nowhere and said, "Hey, I know these people. They call themselves Rat Pack, something or other, la la la." And I was like, because I'm really into Frank Sinatra and oldies and stuff, and I like to dress like Marilyn Monroe, and she knew this, and she said she knew these people, and I could travel around the countryside and bartend and help the Shriners raise money for Shriners Hospital. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. So I met this young man who actually told me about Richard long time before I got to meet Richard, because I was talking to this young man who was just coming into his organization, and I was telling him about how I dated people that had disabilities before, and I really wanted to work with people with disabilities, and this was just my stepping stone. I wasn't going to do this forever. I really wanted to do something meaningful with my life. And he's like, "Oh, I know this guy. He's a doctor." And I was like, "Oh, he's a doctor. Well, send him my number." And apparently Richard had my number for a very long time before he never even called me, to be honest. He never called me.
No, I didn't.
Richard.
I didn't.
You want to tell him why he didn't call me?
Yeah.
I was too afraid. And I didn't, because Cisco, the person that Jaimie's speaking of, he's a Masonic brother and a Shriner. We met at a function, and he goes, "Hey, I got this girl I want you to meet. Let me show you her picture." She was this beautiful blonde with these brown eyes, and she's just so adorable, She goes, "Let me give you her phone number." I said, "God, she looks like Marilyn Monroe." She goes, "Yeah, she's a dead ringer for Marilyn Monroe. And you should hear her sing." And Sandy, she's got a great voice too, Jaimie. She's like a court song singer, So he gave me her number. I had it in my cell phone, and I got up to the last digit, and I would hang up, because I'd say, "Wow, she's so beautiful and attractive. I don't think I'm interesting enough for her." So I would hang up. So I never called her. And he gave me her phone number in January of 2013, and we met physically in September of 2013 at the Shriner Convention. It was September 17th, to be exact.
That's right.
And I had a busy day that day. I was working with my editor, Anita, via Skype, and she lives in Portland, and I live on Long Island, New York. And we had been working on my galley proofs for about 3 hours, because I wanted to get the book out, my memoir called The Little Engine That Did It, to Balboa Press, my publisher, before Christmas. So we had to wrap things up by the end of September. And we had finished up, and I was really tired. And I was like, well, I don't think I really want to go to this weekend, And I was relaxing in my bedroom, and this voice in my head said, "You better go. Pack your bags and get going, because this weekend is going to change your life." So I called my friend Oscar, who was going too. We put my scooter in the back of his pickup truck, and off we went to the hotel, which was in Hauppauge, Long Island, about 30 minutes east of us. And he got out the scooter. He goes, "Okay, I'll get the luggage. You just roll into the hospitality suite, and I'll see you in there." So I said hi to the guys, and somebody opened up the door, and I rolled my scooter in. And everybody's yelling my name and stuff. And then out of the right corner of my eye, I see this blonde flash. And this blonde flash started to move in my direction. And usually every time I met a woman, I would always say, well, maybe she's going to be the one. Maybe she's going to be the one that I can maybe have a date with. And, maybe it'll get serious. But maybe, I was always prepared for that eventuality. And she started coming, and all of a sudden she stopped right in front of my scooter. So I had to
and then
stop
I
the
leaned
scooter.
over, and I leaned over his scooter, and I said, "Hey, how you doing, Scooter?" Because I knew who he was.
I was like, wow.
I knew exactly who he was because Cisco was at that party.
That's right.
And he said, "Yeah, Richard's going to be here today." And so I was literally waiting, biting my nails, waiting for him, talking to somebody else, but just, kind of one eye on the, I'm sure I looked really weird, but one eye on the door, and having a conversation with somebody else. And then all of a sudden I hear this kind of like eruption in the room. And it's like, "Hey, Richie, how you doing? Hey, Rich. Hey, Rich. Hey, Rich. Rich. Hey, Rich. Hey, how's it going? Oh, my God. Hey." Everybody is just, it's almost a small roar, and everybody's just, "Richard, Richard," So I'm like, oh, well, he's got a lot of friends, and everybody likes him. He's kind of popular. And then I saw him, and I'm like, oh, he's cute. I actually saw the back of his eye. I go, God, he looks Jewish. I was like, oh, he's cute. Look at this little guy, this little, oh gosh, the name is fleeting me now, but who's a cute little Jewish man that does the movies? The director of all the movies in the world.
Woody Allen?
Woody Allen. He's got the Woody Allen sex appeal thing going, Hey, come on. Woody had a lot of cute girlfriends.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
He really did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way. It's the elephant in the room. So I went over to him, and I'm like, "Hey, Scooter, how you doing?" And when our eyes locked, it was like everything disappeared. The whole room disappeared. The floor disappeared. It became one of those white scenes out of the Matrix where nothing was there at all, and it was just us. Just us. And I was like, whoa. And he was like, whoa. And I said, okay, so are you hungry? Can I get you a plate of food? Because we were at a banquet hall, there's lots of food.
Yeah.
So let's go sit down and talk, because I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you. And he was like, wow, like, he thought I was an angel, and I thought he was an angel, and we were just we were floating on clouds for the rest of the evening.
Yeah,
wow.
And I think if I wouldn't have been sitting in the scooter, Sandy, I probably would have fell down because I would have got dizzy, because that's how fast the room was spinning, and she was blowing up my phone with text messages the whole night, and the day after, she goes, I can't stop thinking about you. Let's have breakfast. And I was like, well, I have to go. I got to do some stuff with the guys. She goes, but I got to see you. I was like, okay. And we got to spend a Saturday night together, and that was a wonderful experience. And the room was kind of set up for me, which was kind of amazing. And, we've never looked back, actually. Once.
Sounds like an amazing beginning. I unfortunately, we
Yes.
only have a half hour, and this is a long story, and I want to get some more stuff in here. So
Sure,
if we
absolutely.
can
Yeah.
jump to, I mean, this is like a fairy tale, and I love the story. And if you could share some of the challenges that you've had in your relationship together, because this is all the bliss parts. So if you can share some of the challenges that people can learn from.
Well, I think Jaimie can speak, and then I'll interject. You know.
Oh, yes. Well, one of the biggest challenges for me, being over 40, is that I've had a lot of sexual experiences, and Richard had not. So one of the challenges for us in our relationship and getting started was the wealth of knowledge I had and the lack of knowledge he had or experience. And which was kind of interesting for me because it was like, oh, I get to teach somebody something, and I'm my blood, I'm a teacher. So it was kind of kinky in a way, I was like, oh, it's something different, I've never been with somebody like this before, and it was spicy, it was different, so that was exciting. But the challenges of having sex on top all the time, and making it awesome every time, it's that is a challenge. So we had to start experimenting and seeing what Richard was able to do in different situations. Could he stand up and use his cane, to support himself? Yes, he did. And I had to get creative, Can I tell them the table story?
Absolutely, yes. The kitchen table.
Okay, I got up on the
memorial.
kitchen table so he could sit down and did you say explore my petals the last time? Yeah.
Yes,
explore
I
my
explored
petals.
your petals.
That's
like
correct.
A flower. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there, you have to be open-minded, creative, thinker. Kind of think on your toes. Getting around town is a challenge.
Yes.
Transportation, in and out of cars, getting scooters, keeping crutches. Accessible walkways, everything.
And the reactions too that we get from people are very interesting because when I'm out in public, Sandy, by myself, people look at me and and they stare, and I know that they're not doing that because they're curious and they just want to ask questions, and sometimes people do, and I answer them, and then they go away from that interaction with more knowledge and understanding about people with disabilities. Now, the flip side is very different because when I'm with Jaimie, these same people will smile at us, and men will come up to me and say, high five me, and say, there you go, man, because she's pushing me in the wheelchair or we're walking down the street. So, that's the interesting phenomenon when I'm with her. I was a trumpet player in school, so I was blessed with a really good tongue because I knew how to hit those high notes. So that's how I learned that I could satisfy a woman in that way. And also, I think our relationship is about intimacy and exploring the emotional intimacy, which was really the glue with a relationship, I feel, from my perspective. And she is my Mrs. Robinson. She taught me a lot of things in terms of how to relax, how to kiss, because at first I was more stiff, and she taught me how to loosen my lips. And now I don't have to worry about that anymore, to answer your question.
Yeah. So when you say Mrs. Robinson, what's the age difference between the two of you?
Well, I'm 54.
Well, actually, yeah, he's a little older than me. I'm 46. But as far as experience, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But Mrs. Robinson always, to me, is the example of the older woman, younger man. So,
Right.
Just curious about that.
Well, we kind of are. I mean, if you think about it experientially, definitely I'm Mrs. Robinson to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sexually.
Yes.
But he's my nutty professor. So, you know, we could switch places as many times as we want to. And that's the great dynamic of our relationship is we are just such the odd couple, but we're so yin and yang. We fit so well together, you know, as a couple.
Yeah,
I mean, what crazy girl doesn't need a psychologist? I mean, hello.
I'm her Lewis to her Martin in terms of a Martin and Lewis analogy, the comedy team, and she is peanut butter to my jelly. So that's how it works. And considering we have a long distance relationship, it really does work. You know, we spend a lot of time on the phone and on Facebook Messenger doing video chats, and you know it works well. And we see each other, I don't know, once every 3 months or so, and we're always together. You know, doing the Blog Talk Radio show and whatever else we're doing in terms of promoting our mission statement. So,
I'm sorry, Sandy. You know, we're so long-winded because when we have a show, it's an hour long. So we're having to learn how to cut our answers shorter.
Yes.
Yeah.
With you. I apologize.
I used to have an hour show, and I cut it to a half hour because I found that it just people like to get in and out of things. Most of the time today, people have like a 3-second attention span. So we try to pack a lot of really good stuff in a half hour. But yeah, I love how you guys talk about each other, and it's I think for people of all types, it's important to be open and expansive about who your partner is, who your ideal partner is. And I think what you brought up about teaching somebody sexually, a lot of people really have an issue with that. Like they think if a person isn't right out of the gate like the perfect sexual partner, then it's not going to work. And I have a good friend who was dating a widower who had very poor sexual style. His technique was not at all what she wanted, and so she worked with him, and he didn't have a great relationship with his first wife. They were lacking in the intimacy department, so they ended up having one of the most beautiful relationships, and they just got married this past year too. And I was just listening to a podcast about kissing, and the guy was talking about kissing and whether you can teach somebody to kiss in a way that you'll enjoy more. And I think first, you can try. You can certainly try. I think kissing is one of the hardest things, I think, to teach. It sounds like that wasn't your issue.
Well, for Richard really explains it well how I explained it to him. You want to tell her what I told you, Richard?
Sure. She said to me one day, she goes, "You see this peach?" And she took it out of my fruit bowl. She goes, "You know how to eat a peach? You bite in and your lips are nice and soft and relaxed." She goes, "That's my lips. I want you to pretend I'm a peach and relax. Get your head out of it." Because I was thinking too much about being a good lover because, I knew that she had experience, so I was going to be the best, experience that she had. And whenever I thought about that, it kind of stymied me and stifled me.
It made him very tense.
Yes.
And very stiff. And he would come at me with his lips completely puckered, as tightly as you could be puckered, like, excuse my French, but he was kind of like the back end, puckered, and
very
real tight.
appealing.
No, and I was like, I would actually have to grab his face and kind of like smush his lips around and massage his cheeks and kind of do kind of thing, and it was really quite comical. And I hope that somebody does not a reality show, but a movie on us someday, because that's a really funny scene. It's me
Yes.
teaching Richard how to kiss, you know, and he'd come back at me with the stiff face again, and I'm going to kiss you now. Come on, give me a kiss. And I'd be like, no. Okay, we're going to try this again. Breathe. Do one of these. Like that, you know, motorboat. Come on, get those lips looser.
I love it.
It's a good thing I was a trumpet player because I would bust my lips. Yeah.
You guys are great at finding the humor in life's tougher moments, which I think is such an important thing. So, you know, it sounds like that's something that you do naturally and easily. So can you talk a little bit more about the importance of being able to laugh at yourself and laugh in your relationship?
Well, I can say
this.
If Jaimie and I aren't laughing, 30 seconds into our conversation when we say good morning to each other, we're in trouble. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty much like, what's wrong? Okay,
exactly.
what's going on? You know, laughter is a huge part of our relationship. Huge. Richard makes me laugh and smile every day. If I'm not, I mean, it's always something. He says he has the greatest thing. What does he say? Oh God. You know, I'm consistent in spurts. I died when he said that one. That's when I said I'm going to make a book of quotes like that. I'm consistent in spurts. And, you know, I mean, the things that Richard says, he's so cute. He's definitely a nutty professor. He's a little on the naive side because of his disability. His mom kind of like sheltered him a lot when he was growing up. You know, and I understand that, you know, being born with a disability in the 60s is probably really difficult, you know, for his mother. You know, I can imagine his mother. His mother's a little high-strung also, hyper protective. And so he didn't get a lot going on, you know.
I had a child with disability, so I had watched my cousin being raised by her parents, and she was in a wheelchair from the time she was 12. And I vowed to never raise any of my children in the same way, because what they did was they protected her, they deified her, they ignored the other children and put her on a pedestal. And I just said, I am going to treat my son the way I treat any of my other children, and I did. I mean, he had all the same punishments and the same, you know, consequences. Yeah, it's a disservice to coddle and protect, but it's a natural mother instinct as a mother, I can tell you. Yeah, so to sum up, and just to leave a few words for our audience, because you guys are such a great role model for people with and without disabilities. You know, what's one takeaway that you want to leave them with?
Loving and understanding, compassion. You know, love equals understanding and compassion. That's what I want to say. You know, taking a moment to not judge and look a little deeper than the surface. That's what I would want to take away from this.
And I would say, you know, that we're all mirrors to each other, Sandy. And who you look at is also who you are in your reflection. So it's important to be aware of that. And that's what Jaimie and I and you and so many of us are out there doing. We're trying to make people aware of all of the gifts that we have and give each other appreciation of who we are as people. If you don't appreciate yourself for who you are, how are you going to be able to, you know, get out there and be a partner for somebody else, dating or whatever, you know? And you have to be open to learning. Jaimie is my greatest teacher. I've learned so much from her in the 2 years we've been together. A crash course. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm loving every minute of it. And I think we're all teachers and students to each other. That's the point I'm trying to make. And through that experience and that interaction, we can change each other and each one of us that we interact with, one person at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah. I love it.
On our
Thank
journey.
you so much, Sandy.
Oh, thank you. This was a wonderful, wonderful show, and I'm sure you've inspired many people, both here in our show and in your own work and your show. So thank you so much for joining me here today on Last First Date Radio, and I wish you continued laughter and love together.
Yes,
Thank
us
you.
too. We wish that for you too, Sandy, and we look forward to seeing you again.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay,
and thanks
have
everybody
a
for
wonderful day,
joining
everybody.
us today. Have a great day, and hope you all go on your last first date very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.